Welcome to Your College Bound Kid,
a podcast for parents, college counselors, students, and anyone who wants a weekly deep dive into the world of college admissions.
My name is Linda Depker. I'm in St. Louis metro area and have a daughter at University of Chicago. I'll be working with the YCBK team on communications.
I'm Lisa, and I'm a clinical psychologist and college counselor. I have a daughter in college, a daughter in high school, and a son in middle school. After 30 years in Chicago, we recently moved to North Carolina.
My name is Mark. I'm a college coach in Atlanta and the parent of two daughters. Karis, a graduate of Davidson College, and she is the founder of the Spanish tutoring company, SpanishHelpToday.com. And Joy is a graduate of the University of Georgia, and she is getting her master's degree at North Carolina State University. Good morning, friends. I come to you with great exhilaration and enthusiasm. I'm back after 7 exciting days in Southern California. I was out there for a college flying program. For those of you who don't know what those are, a lot of colleges have these programs where they invite college counselors to their school so that you can understand their school better, so that you can promote them. It's a great way for them to get to referral sources so that they can get a flood and a stream of applicants. And I never turned down the chance to go to California. For those of you who are California residents, I totally get why you feel there's no other place in the world quite like it. It's absolutely gorgeous. Sunny California with the beautiful palm trees and the mountain vistas. This is actually my fourth fly-in since 2015. I did one in 15, one in 18, one in 19. And then the pandemic just shut things down. In fact, that's the hardest part for me about the pandemic, is I didn't get any more college fly-ins. So 2022 and California, you invite me again to a new set of schools, and I'll be right back out there again. But basically, it was 9 schools that we visited: Caltech, Occidental, Whittier, Claremont McKenna, Pitzer, Pomona, University of Redlands, Harvey Mudd, and Scripps. And I mentioned those because a number of you have asked to return to the old version of College Spotlights, and I'm going to be doing spotlights on all 9 of those, 9 consecutive weeks. I'll do them with Linda, the newest member of our team, and we'll start those right away, first week in January. And I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to keep them shorter, but I'm going to also share at the end, as a college counselor, who do I recommend to these schools after spending a half a day on each of these campuses. So I think you're going to like that, a new twist. Have to have something new to kick off 2023. I also have to shout out 4 people. One of the great things about these college counselor fly-ins is the camaraderie that you get with your colleagues. It's just really, really rich. And when I saw, well, I actually didn't see the list that came out. Brandon Barnard, who are colleagues, and I together at Westtown for 4 years, he sent me a text and he said, "I'll see you in California." And so I didn't realize the list was out. So Brendan and I spent some fantastic time together, more time than even we got when we were at Westtown. And it was just really rich, just bouncing ideas off each other. That was really fantastic, spending a week with him. But there are 3 others that was great to spend time with as well. Darren Morgan, shout out to Darren. He runs a project called the Arkansas Commitment as a CBO in Little Rock. And Darren actually was a mission officer at Davidson when my daughter Karis applied. He had the territory for Atlanta. More than any one person, he was responsible for her getting in. And then I continued to send kids to him, and he's just a fantastic person. Have to give a shout out to Darren Morgan. I have to also give a shout out to Carrie Russ. Carrie, it was so great to meet Carrie. Carrie's a member of our college counselor confab counseling group, a huge supporter of the podcast. Always encouraging, always sending great updates. Coming from the Bay Area, she works with the CBO there called Peninsula Bridge, and also does some independent work. So it was fantastic seeing Carrie. And then the last person I just want to shout out was Marge Ireland. Marge now works at Westtown in the role similar to what Brennan had, but she was at Villanova when I was at Westtown, and I brought her in as a keynote speaker to our students before. She was actually in the financial aid office, so I brought Marge in to go over college financing. So that was back in 2005. Fantastic to see Marge. So I just want to give a shout out to all 4 of those people. But that if you're a college counselor, you get an opportunity to go to one of these, you want to do it. Not only do you do panels, do you do tours, do you get up close and personal with the presidents, with the directors of admissions, VP of enrollments, faculty, lots of lunches, great food, great accommodations, especially if you get invited to this one, December Fest. Do not turn it down. But it's just a great opportunity to know schools better. So I'm back, I'm fresh, and I'm excited. I wanted to share, listeners, I don't think I ever answered this question, and somebody asked me this recently. They said, why do you guys go to a second episode? And I was like, snap, I don't actually think we ever really explained it. So the biggest reason why we went to a second episode is there's just so many amazing thought leaders out there that I want to be able to introduce you to. And we weren't going to a 3-hour episode, okay? 2 hours is kind of the max we want to keep the Thursday at. And that's already taking a lot of times an hour and 20-minute interview and breaking it into 4 pieces, or, an hour and 10-minute interview, breaking it into 3 pieces. There's just too many incredible people out there that I want you guys to meet. And so giving the second episode allows that. It also allowed us to expand the staff and let you hear from more voices, more leaders in the field, as we expanded our team, do an expanded announcement section. And by moving the announcements to Monday, I can actually record my sessions with Lisa and Vincent, Susan, and Julia in advance. So it's actually less time pressure. So anyway, just want to share that with you. Somebody asked that question. I don't think I ever answered that. All right, speaking of announcements, we have a few today, probably 5 or 6. So we talk about schools that are struggling with growth, but that's not true everywhere. And one place where it's not is Indiana University Bloomington, the flagship. They are on a faculty hiring spree because of the growth. They're hiring 100 new faculty members in the coming year because of rising enrollment. They're seeing explosive growth everywhere. Undergraduate, modest growth there, but also in the graduate programs and the professional studies. And it all kind of started in fall of 2021 when enrollment skyrocketed 20%. So it's kind of hard to get your hands around what's going on with college enrollment. You've got schools closing and merging and downsizing, and then you have others expanding and enrolling, but that's the landscape we're in. Now, we've talked a lot about the UC strike. Oh, and by the way, I also have to give a shout out to Vince. Vince pulled together an incredible breakfast when I first got there in the morning with 2 of the heavyweights in the world of college admissions, senior admissions leaders at some of the most well-known schools in the country, and just got to hang out with Vince and these admission leaders for several hours at his place. Very hospitable, very kind of Vince to do that, and I'm always up for a good talk on college admissions. But one of the things that came up there is this UC strike is really having an impact on students. But it's not only the UC strike that's going on. There's another strike we haven't talked about, and that's at the new school. So 1,500 striking faculty members right now at the new school. And that's a private liberal arts school in New York City. And they've been now on strike for 3 weeks, and they're demanding affordable health insurance and pay that will keep pace with inflation. While they're striking, the UAW union will pay them $400 a week. But if you know anything about New York City, $400 a week isn't cutting it. And the university did put forward an offer on November 20th that they've thought included a fair package of wages, but the union workers rebuffed the proposal. So we'll keep you posted on that. Another big announcement, a study was done by a company called Sky Factor Benchworks, and it found that 37% of student affairs professionals are looking to leave their roles. Wow, 37% are looking to leave their roles. And the study surveyed 324 student affairs professionals in 38 states in Canada, and it found that not only are they looking for new jobs, but over half are looking outside of the higher ed sector. Why? Well, dissatisfaction stems primarily from low pay and poor work-life balance and little opportunity for upward mobility, according to the study. So, we really have this dilemma going on in higher ed right now where you've almost reached a crisis point where it's very difficult for schools to charge more money. Only the ones with the strongest brands can afford to keep increasing their prices. But when you don't increase your price, how can you increase your pay? Keep in mind, more than 70% of a school's cost is salaries and benefits for all employees, like faculty, staff, administration, adjuncts, everybody. 70% of your budget. So if there's no revenue, how can you increase the pay? And the pay is already not great. And then for state institutions, they're cutting back their support for schools. And this is why you've got the dilemma you've got. I mean, some of the cost gets passed on through loans. It gets passed on to the consumer. In other cases, right now, you're just not able to increase costs at all. And then you have this other problem where people are like, well, I'm not making a living wage because it's extremely expensive to run a school. It just is. So we got a real challenge on our hands. All right, another big announcement. I should have mentioned this one a week or two ago. Big announcement. Stephen F. Austin State University announced that it has accepted an invitation to join the University of Texas system. Now, I have flashbacks from Stephen F. Austin in the early 80s when I was running track, and I went there for a track meet. But yeah, I never thought I'd see them join the University of Texas, but strange things happened. So they were actually in demand. 4 different systems reached out to them to propose affiliation, but they ended up picking the UT system. Now, SFA will keep its name, keep its brand, and they say they will keep their culture. Now, talk about creativity. Georgetown University and Coursera recently announced a new online bachelor completion program. So not only is Coursera going to full bachelors now, but bachelors with brand names. So the program's incredibly competitively priced compared to what you'd pay if you did Georgetown residentially. It's $400 a credit hour. And they are trying to target under-resourced students is who they want to be in this program. So the most recent cohort had 62% students of color, and 40% had somehow connection with the military. So if you're thinking, well, 62 plus 40 equals 102, well, there can be overlap. You could be a student of color and have a military connection. So that's part of who they're targeting. So those are our announcements for the week.
And now this week's interview with a special guest.
Now, for our interview, it will be the final part with Vern Granger. And Vern is someone who's got a lot of national stature in the world of college admissions for several reasons. He is the chair of the board of NACAC, and he's also the director of undergraduate admissions at the University of Connecticut. And in part 2, we will continue to discuss the University of Connecticut. Listen and enjoy. Talk to me a little bit more about ACES. How does it work?
Yeah, the great thing about ACES is that the goal of ACES is to help students find their way to the right fit major for them. One of the great courses or seminars that's a part of that process is a session called How Major is Your Major? And it really allows students to understand that there is not necessarily one major that translates to a particular profession. So, for example, students may think that if I want to go on to med school, I have to major in biology, where the data shows it's very clear that that's not the case. You can go into many different majors and still get a direct pathway into that professional pathway. So really getting students to really focus on the fit, what program that they have the interest in, and then advising them about, okay, once you've made that decision, let's educate you about the different pathway options and preparation for your given profession that you ultimately have an interest in.
That's helpful. Great. So we've actually had a couple questions that came in from our listeners that I never sent you in advance, but I know you can think quickly on your feet. So right. These are both Connecticut listeners. So one is a student, and he wants to know how scholarships work, what factors are considered, how holistic is the assessment, and what what factors goes in. He knows that you need to meet a certain priority date to be considered, but he wants to know what are the other factors that determine how scholarships are awarded.
Yeah, so great question by a listener, and our scholarship process works very similar to our admissions process. It's a holistic evaluation, so the same holistic evaluation that we go through when we're reviewing an application for admission consideration, the exact same process for scholarships. The first thing to be aware of is that we do have a December 1st priority deadline. So if students want full consideration for our merit scholarships, it's important that they submit a complete admissions application to us by December 1st. And then when we release our decisions, our admission decisions, so we have a on-time priority admission date of January 15th for admissions consideration. On March 1st, we notify students not only of an admission decision, but also if they are awarded a merit scholarship, they'll get that notification. And on top of that, if they are offered our honors program, they will get notification of the honors program offer during that November 1st decision release. And as I said at the beginning, when I was talking about technology, the student logs into their portal and they are able to access that information. So again, we try to streamline the notification process, but as a part of that, we try to streamline our review process to try to make all of that take place around the same time.
No, that's helpful. Say a word or two about your honors college. Is honors college or honors program? I know there's
honors program. Honors program. At U Conn. And I think the great thing about our honors program at U Conn is that it is a great opportunity for students to take advantage of the additional enrichment opportunities that they may be interested in. So, the more intimate research opportunities, the smaller seminar opportunities, the honor opportunity to reside in a common residence halls with other honor students. So those are all great benefits of the honors program that we have here at U Conn. And so we'll bring in about 550 first-year students each year, new first-year students into the program. And those benefits that I talk about are some of the hallmarks that make the honors experience at U Conn what it is.
Great. Another question came in from another parent who wants to know that when you report your SAT and GPA averages that she's looking up and seeing published, are they specifically for the Storrs campus, or are they all campuses combined? And it gives you a chance to talk about the other U Conn campuses as well.
Great question. So we report for both, and so there is we report the Storrs average. And then separately, we report the regional campus average. We add that mention when we're reporting that this is based on students who've reported their test scores to us. And so I think that's a very important distinction to keep in mind, is that the average is only for those students who submitted their test scores. But when it comes to our campuses, as you mentioned, we not only have the main campus in Storrs, but we also have 4 regional campuses that are located throughout the state of Connecticut. The overwhelming majority of students are going to be Connecticut residents at our regional campuses, and that's simply because only our Stamford campus has on-campus residence hall options for students. And so our Stamford campus, we will typically attract students in the metro area who will enroll at the university. But again, the majority of the students who are at our regional campuses are Connecticut residents. And the other thing I will say about our regional campuses is that we talk a lot about one U Conn, and what that means and how it applies to our regional campuses is that no matter what campus you go to, we are going to provide students with that same high quality post-secondary educational opportunity that we take great pride in. And that's available whether you're at Storrs, the main campus, or one of our 4 regional campuses.
Great, great. So what would be a place you'd recommend someone go if they want to see the difference between the Storrs versus the, all the schools? Because it sounds like you say you do break it out some places statistically. What would be a good source for someone to go to if they wanted to see that?
Yeah, well, the first place I tell students to always go to is our website, admissions.uconn.edu. If they're not on our mailing list, sign up to be put on our mailing list so they will get regular updates and information, invitations for different programs. But that website allows the student to start their search, to begin to get their research about UConn, to learn about not only the Storrs campus and the offerings, but also our regional campuses, the opportunity, again, to sign up for our programs, not only in-person programs, but our virtual programs. And that's the virtual piece is something that's very important to keep in mind. So we offer, for instance, virtual information sessions and virtual campus tours. As well as in person, we offer the opportunity to do a virtual one-on-one chat with a member of the admissions office team, as well as in person. So we want to make sure that students have the opportunity to engage with UConn in many different venues, many different opportunities. Another example of that is if you go to the website, you will be able to connect to our chat bot. And the same type of technologies that that many other companies utilize that your listeners are familiar with. So when they go to Target or when they go to Amazon and they have a question and it's 1:00 in the morning and we work hard in the admissions office, but we want folks to be able to get rest.
Not 1 a.m. hard.
Not 1 a.m. So
maybe losing sleep.
Exactly. But they can go to a chat bot. Our chatbot that we have off of the website, and they can get answers to most of their questions by typing them in the chatbot, or again, just doing a search on our website. So again, that leveraging technology to be able to provide a good user experience. Those are the different ways that we were able to do that and be able to make those connections, and to be able to engage with prospective students as well as our applicants.
And I love that virtual chat. I love to see that high touch there, especially coming from a larger institution.
Absolutely.
Vern, take 30 or 40 seconds and just I'm gonna share some programs that I know you're particularly strong at, and just mention a couple of things that that make these programs strong. So I know you've got a strong coastal studies program. Talk to us about it.
Yeah, our marine sciences program that we have at the university. I mean, I think one of the focuses of it is, the marine study of the marine environment and its relationship with society.
There we go. And I'll do them 2 at a time. Neuroscience and business.
Okay, you're throwing these double questions at me. So
I know.
Remember the first.
I know. I stayed away from triple though.
Okay. Fair enough. So, I mean, with neuroscience, it's the, understanding the process that encompasses the brain development. So I think that's a big focus about that discipline. And, when you're thinking about business, I think one of the big things that folks don't think about, but is really a hallmark of our School of Business, is that innovation and the engagement, those opportunities that are important to the study of business that we take pride in at the institution.
So I'm going to ask you about engineering, and then I have a follow-up about engineering as well. And this also came in from one of our listeners who's also from Connecticut, and they want to know, they feel, I'll read it exactly. I've always wanted to ask, why doesn't UConn have an aeronautical or aerospace engineering undergraduate degree? We have so many of these companies in Connecticut. You can do an aerospace concentration, but not a major. So if you could talk about engineering, which I know is strong, and then also answer that question. Yeah,
I mean, we do provide students with the opportunity to study in that discipline, as you mentioned, through the concentration. I mean, I think the great things about the engineering program at UConn is the opportunity to engage in high quality, high touch research. And our program in a lot of ways, it is one of the big engines in the state of Connecticut and throughout the country and the world for that matter. But the contributions that we make, our engineering program, all of our programs for that matter, but engineering in particular, through our research, through our innovation, through our engagement with the state, I think is something that is very important. I mean, one of the big drivers in the state of Connecticut is preparing for the needs of the state, and one of those are to be able to prepare students who have a great understanding, study in the computer science, the computer engineering, all of those related disciplines, and so I think we do a great job of meeting the needs of the state of Connecticut through our engineering programs. And again, as the listener talked about, we do provide those opportunities for students to study, engage in the aerospace engineering type field through the concentration.
Do you know if there's any talk of making it a degree? Is that on the table, or?
It could be. Yeah, it could be. Yeah. I mean, at my pay grade, I'm not privy to those conversations.
You're being humble.
Exactly.
All right, I'm going to throw another twofer at you. Pharmacy and nursing.
Yeah, so nursing, I talked about how, we do a good job of, meeting the needs of the state, and, nursing and pharmacy are two great examples of that. And we take great pride in the programs of that. The pharmacy program, it's not just to focus on the pharmaceutical piece, but the contributions to the medical, the healthcare industry in the state of Connecticut. So pharmacy really does a great job of contributing to that, and the nursing for that matter. I think everyone is familiar with the national news about the shortage of nurses, and so our nursing program, it does a great job of contributing to the needs of the state of Connecticut, and to the needs of the healthcare industry for that matter, outside of the state of Connecticut. And our nursing program does a great job of helping to meet those needs, support those needs.
And I have to ask you about puppetry because I believe you're the only school in the country with a master's. Am I right about that?
Yeah, that may be right.
So tell people what puppetry is, and say a word about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously unique. There aren't going to be many programs like that, but it, it's one of those fun, unique programs that again I think distinguishes U Conn. I mean, those opportunities for those unique disciplines that we know that there is an interest in. And so the puppetry program, that has been one of the programs that, as when I came to U Conn, and you learn, you get to know the faculty and some of the students. And, I remember at one of the first recruitment programs I met a student from the Philadelphia area, and their excitement about U Conn because of that puppetry program, and they had a great commitment, love, and interest in that discipline, and that was what attracted us to the university. And I see that student on campus, and they're just one of those high energy students. Tell their love for the university. They're taking advantage of all that the university has to offer, and what brought them here was that unique program offering that we have in puppetry. So I'm excited that we do have that program, and we are able to provide that offering to students. Again, like the one I described, who is making amazing contributions to the university experience.
Oh, Vern, no first-time guest comes on your college-bound kid without going on the hot seat. It's our lightning round. So a couple quick non-admission questions for you. So what's the hardest job you've ever had?
I don't know. Hard is a relative term.
Sure.
I mean, I'm very big to put things in their proper context. And so my job, is challenging in a lot of different ways, but there are many things that are out there that are what would more than classify as hard compared to the work I have. So not to get philosophical, but wanted to make sure to add that disclaimer to that. But, you get to know the students through the application process or meeting them personally, and it never gets easy in our application review process, because we know that the majority of students could be successful on the Storrs campus if we had an infinite number of spots. But because of the learning experience that we want to try to provide our students, that there is just a finite number of spots that we have available in our first year class. And so it never gets easy when we have to say no. And at that time, and I want to stress at that time, because we have other pathway opportunities to come to the Storrs campus, but it never gets easy saying that, because, I know there are those students where from when they were little, U Conn coming to Storrs was their quote unquote dream. And so, I mean, that never gets easy. And so, and I hope that it never gets easy, because again, I want to, I feel that if it does get easy, then that's probably my cue that it's time for me to leave the profession, because
that means you would have lost your heart.
Yeah. I mean, so I hope I never get to that point where it gets easy for me to deal with that. I understand the realities, and so I think that that's something that I have an understanding of, but that doesn't mean that it becomes easy.
Sure. One thing on your bucket list you want to experience or accomplish before you move on?
Bucket list. I mean, I try to live in the now. I mean, I'm a planful person, and
sure.
We have our strategic plan, and we try to chart a path for the direction that we want to move the institution in. I mean, I just hope to continue to emphasize some of those two things that I talked about earlier that I'm proud of.
I was thinking more so like outside of work, like
outside of work.
Yeah, outside of work.
Okay. I've had the great pleasure in my, throughout my life to be able to, travel and visit, every continent except
nice.
one, and that is Africa. And
there you go.
Well, I'm not going to count Antarctica, because personally,
sure.
I don't really have a personal need or interest to go to Antarctica. But I've never been to Africa, and so that's one bucket list item that I do have, is being able to go.
Any country in particular you want to get to?
No country in particular. I mean, really at all. I mean, obviously, when you're talking about Egypt,
sure.
the history there, but I mean, the history and the connections to me personally, to a place, places like Ghana or,
sure.
Nigeria or Somalia, or, going to a place like South Africa and getting to visit and just live the history. And so I think there's no place in particular, but just that bucket list of being able to go to Africa is something that I hope to achieve, knock on wood, sometime soon.
Sounds good. Famous person you would pick if you had to have lunch with anybody, could be alive or dead.
Oh, wow. See what you're killing me with these questions.
I know the admission stuff's easy. This is the hard stuff.
There's so many people I admire and I have respect for. I mean, the two people that immediately came to my mind are not around anymore, Jackie Robinson and Martin Luther King, for reasons that, how, I admire their selflessness, how they basically sacrificed their own personal self for the greater good. And that's something that we should all have value in. And so, getting to have a conversation with them is something, I would say would be two famous people that I would love the opportunity to get to meet and talk with.
Love it. My last question. Of course, I have to do a triple hitter to go out on the last one, right? So we have three groups of people that listen. Our biggest group are parents. Our second biggest group is college counselors.
Yeah.
And our third biggest group would be students.
Yeah.
So what's your advice to them? It could be one set of advice that works for all of them, or you could customize it.
I mean, I think the common thread that I would say that cuts across all of them is that, and it's not just for UConn, it's the college search in general, is that, we are fortunate in the United States, some counts I've seen 3,700, 4,000, 4,300. We have a lot of post-secondary opportunities for students to take advantage of. And so my advice is always to be deliberative in your research, to not be afraid to ask questions, and your attempt to try to find an institution that will be a good fit for you. Not the good fit, because again, I don't think that there is one perfect institution for any one person. I think there are many potential opportunities for a student to be able to find a fit that's going to allow them to be successful, to get their experiences, to be able to grow as a person. And so to take advantage of the process, allow themselves to be reflective, understand that it's a collaborative process. All three of those stakeholders that you mentioned have a role to play in the process. I mean, sometimes you'll hear folks say, it should be the student who is driving the process only. No, I believe that it should be a collaborative involving the student, involving the parent, involving, the school counselor or teacher or pastor or family. For all of those folks, I think, have a role in this college search process, and utilizing all of those pieces to ultimately find a place that you can ultimately be successful at.
This is fantastic, and maybe in the future I'll have to have you back to talk about your role at NACAC. I know you have a very senior role. Yeah, and NACAC's doing some really exciting things. I hope to bump into you really shortly, coming up at the conference. So I'm looking forward.
Likewise.
To that. Yeah.
Likewise.
Yeah. So Vern, if you could just close out with the website one last time.
Yeah.
And then any social media that you particularly think helps students get a good understanding of UConn. I know it's kind of overwhelming with TikTok and YouTube and Twitter and obviously Instagram, Facebook. Any place you want to direct them in addition to the website?
Well, our website is admissions.uconn.edu. And by going to that page, again, I talked about some of the offerings that are available in that, but also on the webpage, you can get connected to our social channels that we have at the university. So getting connected to our YouTube page, our UConn YouTube page, and again, those other social media channels that we have available for students to stay connected and learn more about the university.
Vern, this has been fantastic. You're a true professional. And I really appreciate you giving us, 45 minutes of your time. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Thanks a lot, Mark. And I appreciate the invitation.
Take care. On Thursday's episode, Vince is in the saddle, and we will discuss 2 articles about the importance of gratitude in college admissions. Lisa and I answer a question that came in from Gina from Raleigh, North Carolina. And Gina wants to know, how does need-aware admissions actually work? How do schools actually make decisions and take ability to pay into consideration? So we'll do a deep dive on that. And we'll start a brand new interview. It's with the VP of Enrollment at Cornell College, Wendy Beckemeyer, and we'll be discussing understanding Cornell College. Now, friends, a lot of decisions are coming out right now. Don't get caught up in the hype. Don't get caught up in the bumper sticker mentality on your car. That's a parent statement. Students, don't get caught up on the sweatshirt on your back, although that could also be a parent statement. A lot of that is just ephemeral noise. Always remember, it's not where you go. It's not where you go, but it's what you do when you get there, and it's what you do when you get out of there. See you on Thursday, listening family. And that's our show. A big thank you to you, our listeners, for tuning in this week. If you find this podcast helpful, please follow us and you'll get every single episode. as soon as it is released. If you're interested, there are a few ways you can really support our podcast. You can click the share button and send it to your friends and acquaintances. You can help us pay our staff and our expenses by donating on our website. You can write a review for us on Apple or Spotify. I'm the producer of the podcast, but we have a fantastic team of 14. Shout out to our co-host, Dr. Lisa Ruff, Dr. David Williams, Susan Tree, Vince Garcia, and Julia Esquivel, and to our substitute co-host, Sylvia Borgo. Our sensational sound engineer is Nemanja Motvich. Our amazing music is from Victor Allen Weeks. Marketing designs are from Kimberly Blass. Lily Parikh manages our Instagram. Our image editor is Talha Khan. Joyce Ducker does our website episode updates. And our webmaster is Stelianos Dimitriou. If you want to have a coaching session with Lisa or me, just text me at 404-664-4340. If you have a question you want us to answer, or if you have a recommended resource or article you think we should discuss, just send it to questions@yourcollegeboundkid.com. By the way, check out our website, where you'll find lots of content that is not on any podcast app. Our website is yourcollegeboundkid.com. If you want to learn about other hot admissions topics, follow us on Twitter at YCBK Podcast. We think of you as our listening family, and we look forward to meeting again with you every single Thursday.